My brain is a bit crap at the moment, so we're going to keep it light and breezy. Today, 22 frequently asked questions about tarot cards and tarot reading.
Beauty, you have undone my heart, and placed a thorn in every part. Though I have known a blood-red moon, and the bright sun eclipsed at noon.
Does tarot come from ancient Egypt? Well, no, it doesn't, does it really? They used to think so. But the thing is this, tarot was invented by people in the Renaissance who were heavily into ancient Egypt. They were having an Egyptology craze. Now, they hadn't discovered the Rosetta Stone yet, so they couldn't translate the hieroglyphs. They didn't know what it all meant, but they thought it looked really interesting. And there is some evidence that they wanted tarot cards to be a bit like ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. There is a hieroglyphic kind of feeling to the overall concept of the tarot pack. Which came first, playing cards or tarot cards? Playing cards. How many trumps were there in the first tarot decks? 14. Was Pamela Smith of mixed race? Was she a lesbian? Nobody knows. Which writer do you recommend for tarot history? Paul Hewson. Here's the Devil's Picture book, quite a nice book from the 70s. And here, maybe more to the point, is Mystical Origins of the Tarot, which is an absolute must for anyone interested in the cards. Was the figure in the World card originally a hermaphrodite? Yes, it was, and there's hard evidence about that. If you have a look at these stills, you can see that the World card is just basically cut and pasted from a classical design featuring the hermaphrodite Greek god Phanes appearing in an oval shape surrounded by the zodiac. Did the Empress card originally symbolize motherhood? I'm afraid it does look that way, yes. Some of the first Empress cards seem to have a vulture on the Empress's shield, and it seems that the vulture was a hieroglyph for motherhood. Which format of the Lovers card is more authentic, and which meaning should I use? Here we are. Here's a Marseille format Lovers card, and here's an RWS format Lovers card. Funnily enough, this is one respect in which I really recommend the Marseille format, where the guy is choosing between two women, either good girl and bad girl, or wife and mother. I think this Garden of Eden stuff is just a bit of a red herring. And the meaning that I go with, which some tarotists don't, is that the Lovers card symbolises a big decision that is a test of your maturity, you know, a kind of decision between good girl and bad girl, or between wife and mother. I think that's a useful meaning for this card. How should we ascribe the 4 elements to the 4 ranks of the court cards? King, Queen, Knight and Page. Well, frankly, nobody knows. There's so much confusion. The Golden Dawn seem to have bickered about this themselves. They seem to be quite clear that Queens were water and Pages were earth. But they couldn't decide whether Kings were fire or air, and Knights were fire or air. So when you get into esoteric tarot, I'm afraid you will be picking up books that will all contradict each other, sometimes with brain-frying results. Sometimes, mentioning no names, you will find books which start off ascribing the elements one way and then kind of like change their mind halfway through the book. Personally, I think Knights are fiery and Kings are kind of like cool and organizational. Therefore more airy, and so that's the way I do it, but I'm afraid it's a minefield, that one. Why does the Knight of Cups look like the Death card? Because sex and death are connected. What is the meaning of the dog and the wolf in the Moon card? There was a saying in ancient Rome, between the dog and the wolf. This meant that time of day when the dog comes home to be with the family and the wolf, meanwhile, goes out to hunt. So that if you're between the dog and the wolf, you don't know whether you're coming or going. Which deck should I start with? I think you should start with the Rider-Waite-Smith, any version of that. If you want one with people of colour, You could try the melanated classic tarot, which I think is much nicer than the wiser tarot, which I think is a bit horrid. If you can't get on with either of those, get a close clone of the Rider-Waite-Smith. There are many of them. Here's one, the Golden Art Nouveau tarot, which is kind of okay. And if you still can't get on, get yourself a Rider-Waite-Smith Marseille hybrid deck. And there are many of these coming onto the market. Here's Le Tarot de Marseille Waite, which I think is okay. And if you're feeling very arty and you want to be one step ahead of the Joneses, you could try this, the Keishobu tarot, which has recently been restored and recolored and re-released. It's the first ever Japanese tarot deck, and it really is a full-on hybrid of Rider-Waite-Smith and Marseille. Tarot books are confusing. They all give different meanings for the cards. What should I do? Okay, here's what I want you to do. Find yourself a concise set of keywords from a tarot writer or YouTuber that you like and work with that set of keywords for at least a year. Then when you feel confident, you can branch out a little bit and read a bit more widely. But if you read all the books on the market, your head, unfortunately, will explode. Should I buy multiple decks? No, you shouldn't buy multiple tarot decks. Don't follow my example. I'm a tarot reviewer, and also I'm kind of quite stable in my practice. I've been doing it for about 44 years. You really only need one or two decks. I disagree with people who say you need a deck for every mood. I think the tarot itself contains all the moods you need. Should I colour in my own tarot cards? Yes, you should. Here we go. Here are my templates. Colouring in your own tarot cards or your own tarot templates, which you could then reduce and turn into cards, will force you to spend hours and hours with these designs. And in some ways, that's a really, really good part of your tarot learning process. In some ways, it teaches you more than 20 books. So yes, colour them in, enjoy it, do it really, really well. And when you've coloured them in, just make that into your own personal deck. Highly recommended. Oh, and by the way, of course, I've made a video on the subject, which you can find in my tips and tutorials playlist. Should I charge my friends for readings? I'm afraid so. Should I read at parties? Not until you're very experienced. Is it okay to mix humour and tarot? Yes, it is. The universe is composed of consciousness, or you could say intelligence, and humour is the play of intelligence. Why would one trust anyone who didn't have a sense of humour? Is it okay to do tarot in a performative way? Yes, it is. Unusual gestures and details and paraphernalia create a dreamlike atmosphere that encourages synchronicity. Is there a right way and a wrong way to do tarot? Nope. I hope that was helpful. Goodbye everyone. See you next week. Bye. Nobody knows.